Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're taking a deep dive into a really simple text that, when you look a bit closer, actually reveals a pretty structured lesson about a value we all know. We're going to have some fun with this and just see what we can unpack from a few simple words. Okay, let's get right into it. Here on the screen, this is our source text for today. Now, I know what you're thinking. It might just look like a jumble of words, maybe from a children's song or something, but for the next few minutes, we're going to treat this like a serious piece of wisdom and see what it's really trying to tell us. So, first things first, let's look at the main idea here. The text kicks off with this really simple but really powerful moral statement. It's basically the foundation for everything else that follows. And there it is. Sharing is good. Just 3 little words, but look at how direct it is. It's a crystal clear declaration. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The text just establishes this as a fundamental truth right from the get-go. You know, what's really interesting here is the way the text presents this idea. It's not framed as, I think sharing is good. It's just stated as a fact. So in the universe of this text, goodness isn't just an opinion. It's an essential, built-in quality of the act of sharing itself. All right, now let's jump to the end of the text for a second. After laying out its main principle, the source actually seems to break down the mechanics of what it means to share. It gives us this really simple model for how the whole thing works. So that brings up a really good question. The text doesn't just tell us what to believe, it also seems to be describing how the whole process of giving actually functions. So let's break down this 3-part description it offers. So you can see the whole process laid out here. It seems to start with an internal thought, right? The intent, I think. Then that's followed by the action itself, you give. And then, and this is the really interesting part, it ends by saying the recipient is also you. So one way you could read this is that giving is a kind of loop. What you give out into the world, you also in some way give back to yourself. Now, the text doesn't just state its big idea one time and then move on. It actually uses a pretty specific technique to reinforce the lesson, to help make sure it really sinks in with the listener. And this phrase right here, this is the key. Notice that subtle little shift. It goes from the first statement, sharing is good, to this one, you know it is good. Just adding that little phrase, you know, well, that changes everything. See, it's not trying to teach you something totally new, like it's the first time you've ever heard this idea. No, instead, it does something way more powerful. It's validating a truth that it assumes you already feel inside. By saying you know, it's kind of like it's saying, hey, deep down, you already knew this, right? And that turns you from just a passive listener into someone who's actively agreeing with the belief, which makes the whole lesson so much stronger. Okay, let's zoom out and put all these pieces together. When we combine everything we've looked at, you start to see this surprisingly structured, complete lesson that's being communicated in just a handful of words. This table kind of lays it all out for us. You've got these 3 core parts all working together. First, you get the assertion, a clear moral rule. Second, you get the reinforcement. It brings you in by appealing to what you already know. And third, you get the mechanism, a model for how the action itself works. It's a whole system. And that's really our main takeaway here. A simple phrase, probably from a children's song that's meant to teach good habits, can actually have this really robust and complete framework inside of it. It doesn't just tell us that sharing is good, but it also reinforces why we already know that, and it even suggests how the whole act works on a deeper level. So this just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This whole exercise shows how these really powerful messages can be packed into things we might normally just ignore. It makes you wonder, right? What other big, profound lessons about how to live are hiding all around us, just waiting in plain sight for us to unpack them?